Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening to share in the discussion of a very, very important topic that impacts all of us. I'd like you to all take a moment, please, to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The topic of our meeting this evening is one of grave seriousness, and I think it would be appropriate in light of the fact that the elementary school children in Connecticut went back to school today, for us to take a moment of silence to express our thoughts for those children and those families, as well as our support that they have a peaceful beginning to the new year. Thank you. I'd like to begin by introducing some of the folks that we have up here on the stage and in our audience who've come out tonight to discuss this important topic. First, on stage, we have Mrs. Kathy Moncrief, who is our Board of Education President. In the audience, we have Ms. Rita Hines, Ms. Pam Bragg, and Ms. Alethea Gibbs-Smith, who are also Board of Education members. In addition, we have our mayor, Mayor Rich Roach, who is here also joining in this important topic and bringing the support of the borough, along with Councilman Wayne Hans, who also has been very supportive of our school district. We are here tonight with our Chief of Police, Chief Brennan, who's here as a supporter of our school district, as well as a keeper of the safety of the community. And with him is Detective Mike McCarthy, who also represents the Lindenwold Police Department. We work very closely with the Lindenwold Police Department, and along with the Lindenwold Fire Department. Chief Nolan is in regular communication with the school district. We work closely with the Borough Council and the Mayor's Office, and certainly the Board of Education is very sensitive to the needs and the best interests of the children here in Lindenwold, as well as to our families. Joining us also are three of our four principals. Mr. Peter Brandt, who is the principal here at Lindenwold High School, Mrs. Kasha Giddens, who is the principal of Lindenwold Middle School, and Mrs. Dana Lawrence, who is the principal of Lindenwold School Number 4. Mr. Rose couldn't be here with us tonight because it's math night, and math night is very, very important to Lindenwold School Number 5. So we didn't want to disrupt the children and the families that were attending math night. Also not with us tonight is our athletic director and kind of supervisor of discipline here at the high school, Mr. Derek Sellers, because there's a basketball game going on. So Lindenwold schools are 24/7. We're very, very busy and very active, even beyond the school day. The reason we've come together tonight is to talk about some of the issues that took place in Newtown, Connecticut, but more importantly, to see what we do here in Lindenwold schools to make sure that your children are safe, and what we do as a community to make sure that the community is safe. And let me assure you that nothing is more important, although we really, really are interested in reading, and we are really, really interested in math and all of the academic areas of school. We educate the whole child here, and we can't do anything unless our schools are safe. And we work very, very hard to make sure that that takes place. Let me give you a little bit of general information, then I will turn the floor over to our Chief of Police, and then we'll open the floor to questions. I'm going to begin by saying that we will give you some general information about what we do, but I cannot share with you the details of our security plans, and that's because we need to keep them confidential so that we don't share information in general to the public, and the information shouldn't get into the wrong hands. So please rest assured, we have many, many detailed safety plans for many, many circumstances, but we can't share all of the specific details of those plans tonight. Okay, let me begin. I'm sure that your children are coming home and telling you, we had a drill today. We had a fire drill or we had a safety drill. Each month in our schools, as well as in all of the schools across Camden County and the state of New Jersey, there are 2 drills that are required to be held. One is a fire drill, and you parents probably remember that from when you were kids, where the fire drill bell went off and everybody knew which door to go out and what hallway to go down and how to get out and be safe. We still practice those things, and the research has shown that that has reduced the danger and injury in any fire-related incidents. In addition, however, in most recent times, we have begun to have different types of security drills. And these security drills are for different types of incidents that might take place. We have drills in the event that there's an intruder who comes into our school. And we have drills in the event that there's something going on in the community and we just need to keep the schools safe and isolated so that the folks out in the community, the police and the fire department and those folks can handle whatever particular emergency is coming up. We also have evacuation drills, and those evacuation drills are in the event that something happens here at school where we need to immediately get the students out. And those are similar to our fire drills, although slightly different. We practice and practice and practice. And the reason we do that is so that in the event of a real emergency, nobody's fumbling on the bookcase to see what's the plan and what's the procedure and what should we be doing. It's something that is second nature to us. And as a result, we feel that we're very, very prepared. For those of you who come to our schools on a regular basis, anytime during the school day, you find yourself ringing the doorbell, much as you wouldn't come into somebody's home without knocking or ringing the doorbell. We ask you to ring the doorbell. And at each of our doors, we have security cameras so that the folks inside the school can see who's at the door. We may ask you for ID. We may ask you to step in front of the camera so we can better see who's at the door. And upon recognizing who's coming in, we invite you into the building by buzzing you in. We then, in each of our schools, ask you to go either to the office or to, in the case of the high school, there is a sign-in desk, and we ask you to sign in and to tell us who you are and where you're going, why you're here at school. You may be here for a visit to the nurse or to the guidance counselor, or you may be here for a meeting, or you may be bringing something to your child, or whatever. We ask that you follow these procedures because we cannot disrupt the school either for safety reasons or for any other reasons by having people walk around the schools. You, as parents and community members, warn your children about stranger danger. You warn your children about having people who they don't know walking around and approaching them and talking to them. That's a very important safety procedure that you, as parents and family members, follow. We try to maintain the same kind of thing by keeping adults who are unexpected, who are not staff members, in a more secluded or isolated area so that they're not approaching children. They're not approaching your children. They're not approaching anybody else's children. And that's a safety and security measure that we've adopted. There are a whole set of procedures that were developed between school administrators and police departments, fire departments, and the Camden County Prosecutor's Office to outline exactly the procedures that were going to be followed in each and every school. And we follow those procedures on a regular basis, and we report those procedures to our Board of Education. Our plans are very detailed and take into consideration virtually any incident that we can possibly think of. Keep in mind, some of our schools are right near railroad tracks, some of our schools are on main county roads, some of our schools are in secluded areas where there are trees and more secluded areas. So we border other towns. We want to make sure that we have thought of every possible incident and developed a plan. Now, having done all of those things, things happen. And whenever they do happen, certainly we review our procedures to see if there's a better way to do it. We meet with the police department every year. And like every superintendent in Camden County and really across the state, the chief and I sign a memorandum of understanding where we will share certain information and we will pledge to work together to handle any types of incidents or emergencies that might come up. On a regular basis, the police are in our schools. They come in periodically if we have an incident, a discipline matter or some other type of informational issue that might come up, but they also come and visit. And we view the police as honored guests in our buildings, and we are very happy when they come because the relationship between the school district and the police department is a very, very important one. And I would certainly urge all of the parents out there, please let your children know, help us to let your children know that the police are here to help them, and in the event that they ever come into a situation where they're afraid or they need help or any type of situation like that, they can go to a police officer who happens to be in proximity, or they can go to a fire official, or they can go to any of the school adults, and we will be there to help them. So we work together to make sure that the kids understand that, and that's one of the reasons that we're so happy when the police officers come in to visit. So if you see a police car in front of one of our schools, that doesn't mean that something bad has happened. They may be there to participate in the DARE program or in the GREAT program. One is a drug awareness program and one is a gang resistance program, and they work and teach our children about some of the things, some of the avoidance strategies so they don't get mixed up in dangerous kinds of things. But they also come in just to collaborate with us and talk about some plans and issues and things that come up so that we can work together. We also, here at Lindenwold High School, are part of the emergency management system, so that in the event that there's an emergency in the community, you'll see lots of information on Channel 192, which is broadcast right out of Lindenwold High School and broadcast in collaboration with the borough and the emergency management folks. So if you ever find yourself in an emergency situation here in Lindenwold and something is happening throughout the town, tune to Channel 192 and you will get some information directly from the folks that are running the intervention. At this time, I'm going to turn the program over to our chief, and he can share some of the points of view from the police department's side. Chief?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone who is not familiar with the events that took place on December 14th in Newtown, Connecticut? Okay, we're all aware of what happened. That type of situation in the law enforcement profession is known as an active shooter situation. That day in Newtown, Connecticut started out probably like every other day in Newtown, Connecticut. People got up, they had breakfast, they packed their children off to school, and they fully expected at the end of the afternoon, children would come home, do homework, have dinner, get ready for the upcoming holidays. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for them, and no one here tonight, no one in Lindenwold can know what that's like. They won't know what it's like for the kids that were there, the survivors. They won't know what it's like for the families of those children. They won't know what it's like for the staff at that school, for that community in general. And no one wants to. No one ever wants to have to deal with that. That is the most horrific thing anyone would ever have to deal with. You folks expect every morning, pack your children off for school, and at the end of the afternoon, they're going to come home and do homework and have dinner and do whatever else they have, soccer and basketball and all those things. And the purpose of this meeting tonight is just to assure you that when you pack your children off in the morning and send them off to school here in town, they're in a safe place. Every school in the district has safety protocols in place. Every staff member is aware of those protocols. They know what our response is going to be, and we're working together to make sure that everyone is safe when they come to school. And that's what we're here to let you guys know, that your children are safe when they come to school. As Dr. Carroll said, we cannot, at the end, I'll field questions if anyone has questions, but we cannot, lay out, this is what happens, then this, because the offense can't know what the defense is doing. So there are certain questions that, we're not trying to be rude or hide things, but certain information we're not going to be able to tell you. But with an active shooter situation, it's important to remember that it's dynamic. Sometimes on a fire scene, the fire department will show up, the house is on fire, they do what they need to do and put the fire out. With an active shooter situation, it's moving. So we're not going to be able to say, okay, we'll pull up, we'll get out, we'll get by the front door, we'll go by the back door, we'll go by the side door. We have to operate dictated by the information that we have on hand at the time. So it's important that in any emergency situation, as parents, human beings are, protective by nature. If your child is in danger, if your family member is in danger, your instinct, not knowledge, not skill, your instinct tells you to protect them. It's just an animal instinct that we all have. But I would ask you that in response to any emergency situation here at the school, here at number 4 school, number 5 school, the middle school, that you comply with whatever instructions the police are giving you. If you're not to go past a certain point, your instinct is going to tell you, my child is in there, I have to go. Please just try to comply. We're here to help your children. And if we let you beyond a certain perimeter, you're putting yourself in danger, and we're putting you in danger by letting you do it. So we would just ask that, try to fight that instinct if you can, and let us do our job to protect your children if knock wood, a situation like that ever would occur here in town. That's pretty much all the points I had to make regarding that. At this time, if anyone has questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them for you. Yes, sir.
If you could come up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a general comment. You're Mrs. Carroll?
I am.
My name is Steve Sacchetti. I spoke with you on the phone. Just to everyone here, just so you're aware, I made a phone call to Mrs. Carroll's office on the Tuesday following the Friday of the Newtown incident. I spoke with her assistant. I asked that I would like to speak with her about this concern. She says Mrs. Carroll was busy, which is obvious. Within the hour, I received a phone call back from Mrs. Carroll when I expressed my interest to, as a community, I have 2 sons that are in the Lindenwold School 5. One's in pre-K, one's in 1st grade. I drop my kids off for school in the morning. I pick them up in the afternoon. Coming back to the school that Monday, in that morning rush that we have, we saw, or I noticed there was a lot of uncertainty, which was just human nature. And I thought to myself, is there any way to bring that uncertainty to some sort of normal by having you guys and everyone here just give that sense of comfort? Mrs. Carroll was nothing but understanding, and I'm not here in any way, shape, or form to take any credit for this, but I just want to extend my thanks to you for making this possible. I did speak with Principal Rose this afternoon, who's actually back on 2 feet. But he did apologize for him not being here, and I just want to let you know that he does an outstanding job for Lindenwold School 5. And I just want to extend my thanks.
Thank you.
See, all situations are fluid. I've been here in Lindenwold for almost 12 years, and in the time that I've been here, we've had 3 incidents where we've needed to take some type of action. The first incident took place, I want to say about 7 years ago, where there was an individual in Clementon who came onto school property and ran across school property, and we were advised by the Lindenwold Police Department to have a lockdown and not to let anyone out, not to let anyone in until the police handled the situation. It was seamless. There was no problem at all. All of the teachers knew exactly what to do. All of the staff knew exactly what to do, and the police did their business with no interruption whatsoever to the children's comfort level and the safety of the staff, and we just went about our business. That was the first incident. The second incident took place a few years ago where we thought that we had an item of something that was going to be an explosive. As it turns out, it was a prop from one of the plays, and it had been painted and left outside to dry. But we're very, very careful here, and we evacuated all of our students to the football field because that's our location for evacuation. It happened seamlessly. The students were well supervised. All of the students were taken care of. We had plans in place to transport the students to another location if necessary. We had plans in place to get the students home. They got home a little bit late, but everything was taken care of, and in no time at all we figured out what the issue was. But we reacted as if it was a real situation because we didn't know. And we always err on the side of caution. Did we feel a little silly at the end? Maybe for about 10 seconds, but boy, were we proud that everybody knew exactly what they needed to do. Most recently, I believe it was about 2 years ago, we had a lockdown where all of our schools were locked down as a result of something that happened in the community. And again, it was a Friday afternoon, which is always inconvenient. And the students were, again, in the buildings, safe and sound. We had parents who came to the school. They were very concerned about their children. And just as the chief mentioned, a perimeter was set up. Parents were asked to stand back. And we followed our procedures exactly to ensure the safety of the children and the staff. In each of these incidents, I have to give 100% of the credit to the staff because they knew exactly where to be, exactly what to do, and exactly how to ensure the safety of the children and the safety of the rest of the staff members. We are very, very fortunate to have such a dedicated staff and a well-trained staff in terms of making sure that they are familiar with the procedures and that they follow through. These procedures are reviewed by the principals with the staff on a regular basis, and again, we drill and we drill and we drill so that it becomes second nature. And we feel pretty proud about that. So for those of you who want some assurance, will we really know the right thing to do when the time comes? If, unfortunately, if God forbid the time does come, I think that our staff is up to the challenge. Hopefully they will never experience it, but certainly they are up to the challenge. On a day-to-day basis, our teachers interact with our children in such a way that the children know that somebody cares about them and somebody is going to be there for them. And fortunately, it's never that type of a violent incident. It's usually just a day-to-day kind of thing, whether they fell on the playground or something happened at home or they've had a problem with another child or whatever, but the teachers, the staff are there for them. And so those are some of the kinds of things, if I can give you any reassurance whatsoever, we care about your children, and that happens on a day-to-day basis. And I can't thank the staff and the administration and the board enough for establishing that type of an environment where we're all there and caring about our kids. Did you have any other questions? If you do have a question, please come up to the mic so that we can hear you. In case you're not aware, we are recording this, and the reason we're recording it is because some folks aren't able to come tonight, and we want to make sure that the information gets out to as many people as are interested.
Hi, my name's Vicki Blair, and I actually have a couple questions. I know at the middle school and the high school you have security. Mm-hmm. Is there any intentions of bringing that into the elementary schools at any point in time?
At this particular time, we do have the security officer, a retired police officer here at Lindenwold High School, and we do have a Lindenwold community member, former Lindenwold police officer at the middle school. You're correct. We review these situations on a regular basis, and let me tell you that any suggestions, any comments that are made tonight, I cannot make any commitments, but what I can say is that all of this information will be taken back to the administration, to the Board of Education, and to the police department, and we will talk about whether that would be an appropriate thing for us to do.
Okay. And the other question is, I do remember an incident a couple years ago, I don't remember exactly when it was, where they were in lockdown, and it happened towards the end of the school day. Mm-hmm. Parents arrived at the school to pick up their children and had no idea what was going on. I know since then, we've kind of incorporated the phone system.
Yes.
If something like that were to happen again, will we get notification prior to, if possible, going to pick up our children? Mm-hmm. Because I know that as a parent is a concern of mine. Mm-hmm. Like if something happens and I don't know it and I roll up on the school to get my kid and you tell me I can't, yeah.
I understand exactly. I'm a parent as well, hopefully at some point to be a grandparent. And if someone told me I couldn't get my child, I might not be very happy about it. That's absolutely very understandable. Whenever possible, we will make a Global Connect call, and some of you are probably getting tired of our Global Connect calls, but we're trying to share information as much as possible.
I applaud you for that system, because I know it puts my mind at ease. So I think that's for our community out there.
Well, it is something that we use regularly. Whenever possible, we make the announcements both in English and Spanish so that we can service our whole community. And if at all possible, we certainly will share information to the best of our ability. Unfortunately, timing is everything. Mm-hmm. And if the timing is off, then we can't really share the information. If there was an emergency situation, we're busy taking care of the emergency, and we will share information as soon as we possibly can. The other thing that you could do to help us would be to please make sure that we have accurate telephone numbers. People's lives are busy. People change their phone number. Maybe you get a new cell plan. Maybe you give your old phone number to your child and you get a new phone. Please make sure that we have accurate contact information for you and for other family members, so that in the event that we do have information to share, we can share it out accurately and quickly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Pamela Cole, and this question is probably going to raise some concerns. In the case, as you had talked about, having a shooter who is running through a school, if there's, what is your, and I know you can't give away certain information, but what is your plan that you would do with the shooter when there's nobody inside the school that has a firearm on them? You can't keep a child locked up in classrooms, as it was found out on many occasions in the schools already, because a shooter can obviously shoot right through a door. So without having armed people, armed officers, armed retired officers, armed teachers people don't know about, whatever the case may be, choose 5 people in the school, teach them and train them how to have firearms on them, keep it secure so nobody knows who those people are, so the children can't target the teacher with a firearm. But how can you possibly, for a floating shooter, how can you possibly protect the children inside without having someone inside with a firearm on them?
Well, ma'am, the only way to protect all of the children inside the school is to prevent the incident itself.
Obviously, yeah.
Right? And that we're just simply not going to be able to do. As a wise person once said in a meeting a couple days ago, you can't plan for crazy.
Yeah.
And if a person is determined to get into a school, a mall, an office building, and they're going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would not support any plan that would put armed civilians in a school. So if the school district were to somehow come up with a plan, I wouldn't endorse it. I would fight it tooth and nail. It's an unfortunate, horrific, dangerous situation. And the timely response of the police department, the timely response of the staff and teachers in the school are the only thing that is going to protect the children. If we don't do a lockdown, if we don't lock the children in the school, all you do at that point is present more visible targets. And, you know, as I said, we've never had a situation like that here, and we're not going to. Lieutenant McCarthy and I, we've been to numerous debriefings and trainings regarding these type of incidents, and the one resounding fact through all of it, through the eyes of the law enforcement response, was that it was utter chaos. No matter what you plan for, no matter what contingencies you put in place, the chaos is going to overrun, and we as first responders have to meld our way through that. But to put armed teachers in a school, I'm not a proponent. If you have an active shooter in any school, we know we have to vet out one bad guy. So if there are 5 armed people, civilians, in a school, what do we do with them? Do we make them wear orange vests that say, I'm the armed guy, so don't shoot me, which then makes them another target for the bad guy?
I could definitely see where it would cause, there would be things to work out, even as far as the security guard inside the school being armed. Had there been an armed security guard, the minute the shooter, it wasn't a child, came into the school, the armed person sitting at the door would have been able to stop him right there.
Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in 1999 at the Columbine High School, there was an armed school resource officer on duty in the school the day that happened.
Yes.
Now, that's a little different. There were 2.
And
there were 2 people. But the presence of an armed security guard is not guaranteeing, you know, a victory in this case. Just as by way of an example, if you have an armed security guard in the school, he may have other duties within the school. There's no guarantee that he's going to be sitting at the front door when this person shows up. He may be elsewhere in the school. He may be at the farthest corner of the school when this happens and try to make his way all up here, and by then some damage may have been done.
There's a million ifs. I do understand that.
And, you know, we certainly
can't
can't
cover them all.
cover them. We just can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's a situation that if we could just prevent it, we would prevent it. But unfortunately, you know, we have to deal with what we have. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a proponent or an advocate of arming civilians to put them in, you know, schools.
Now, our school security officers are both retired police officers.
Yes, I know that.
And they do have skill and training in terms of using weapons. And this was a discussion on the part of the Board of Education several years ago. And because our security officers, interact with students on a regular basis. And from time to time, some of those students are volatile for a variety of reasons.
The gun can be taken in turn.
We were very, very concerned, and the decision was made that we would not bring guns into school that could potentially be used in a dangerous way. And so that was a decision made at that time. As I said before, any comments or suggestions will be brought back to the board, will be something that we will discuss again. At this particular time, though, we don't have a plan to have any guns routinely in our school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. Woo! My name is Ina Ray Guy, and I just wanted to first thing I wanted to reiterate behind Mrs. Blair with regard to the lockout a couple of years ago when we showed up to pick up the kids and we could not get into the school and they'd only let a certain amount of parents into the school. I appreciate everything that was done because everybody got out safe, we were happy, but there was that time frame when there was nothing but hysteria in the parking lot, and it was hard to quell without any information. So I just wanted to say again, if there's any way for someone to get out and talk to the parents. By the time it got to me, there was a gunman, the story was, there was a gunman, you know, running around Lindenwold, and if we did not get into the school, we might have been shot ourselves. So it was just really crazy. So I honestly don't know, you know, how you would get information out when everything's happening so quickly, but just to reiterate again, the parents just, the hysteria, and the parents just get really upset.
Absolutely.
If there's something that could be done, you know, to help kind of quell that and calm and say, look, we're doing the best we can, your kids are going to be okay, that would be helpful.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And again, depending on the situation, we will certainly try to do that.
Yeah. And then the second question, I realize you probably could not answer as well, but I would throw it out there. I realized nobody could stop. With the situation in Sandy Hook, nobody could really expect that somebody they knew would come in and do what they did. But with the procedures, are there little things like locks on the door, going through each building, making sure you have security things that could possibly be done that won't cost a whole bunch of money and won't put people out, you know, to the extent of putting in metal detectors and all that kind of stuff. And what could parents do if, you know, you're looking at the buildings and you realize, well, you know, some of the doors could have better locks on it. Could parents do anything to help you all out with that in terms of raising funds, raising money, and that sort of thing?
I certainly appreciate the fact that you were willing to help. That's, you know, budgetary issues are always a major concern. Having said that, you can't put a price on a child's life. So certainly
Right.
we are currently walking the buildings and checking again, as we have checked and rechecked regularly, but we will be checking again and addressing any of those minor issues, any doors that aren't as secure as they should be, anything that may have broken since the last time we checked.
Right.
Those kinds of things are being taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Hello, I'm Delphine Sam King. My daughter been with the Lindenwold school system since pre-K, and I appreciate the buzzer system.
Thank you.
Buzzing in and out, but like the job that I have, even if you're an employee, you would make an appointment, and they would have your name, and they'd be kind of like anticipating your visit. So just people just coming up buzzing, you know, if I come up and I go, okay, it looks like a parent, but as we've seen in that incident, he was the, like a family member of one of the administrators. If we had like a list, if we had to call in and say, okay, I want to come up and visit this teacher, or I'm coming up with lunch money, or my son or daughter forgot their bag, then the person buzzing them in would not only have the child's badge number as they're coming in, like if you're standing in front of the thing, you could say, my daughter's badge number right here, this is her number, and then say, okay, since she knows the number, then she's safe to come in, and plus I'm anticipating her, and your name is, I'm Mr. Sam King, along with the cameras and the buzzing, like people would sign in or call in advance.
That's a fabulous suggestion, and I would reach out to all of you and ask you, whenever possible, if you could let us know that you're coming up to school. That would be very, very much appreciated. Having said that, occasionally situations come up,
Right.
and a parent either hasn't anticipated that they needed to come to school, or some unusual circumstance happens and they need to see somebody now.
Right.
And when parents need to see somebody now, we try to be as responsive as possible. Sometimes we can't be.
Right.
It's much easier and much more, it ends up much better if we do have an appointment, because then we're not disrupting a teacher if a teacher needs to be brought into the meeting, or any other person involved in the school if they need to be brought into the meeting. But occasionally situations come up where we need to address it right away and no appointment has been made.
Right.
And we don't like to turn parents away, particularly because parents are also, they have their needs, these are their children, they want an answer right away, as well as the fact that we have a lot of working parents and they have a limited amount of time, and they can't necessarily have the time to make an appointment and come back at another on another occasion. But whenever possible, if you all could make appointments, that would make it easier for all of us, and we would be able to service parents and community members in a much better way. So thank you for that suggestion. Please tell your friends.
All right, sure, thank you.
Yes?
Okay, you pretty much addressed, like you were talking about the security issues. Are you able to tell us if, one, there are locks on individual classroom doors?
Yes.
Okay. Two, do we have bulletproof glass, at least, because the shooter shot through the glass on the door? Do we have that? Can we get that? Is that like a possibility?
Again, that would be something that we would take back to the board, and it's not something that I can really address at this time.
Okay.
Although, do keep in mind that even if you have bulletproof glass here, unless you bulletproof all of the glass throughout the entire building, they'll move to the next window. When somebody,
I understand that, too.
Yeah, so it's a very, very difficult situation, but it's certainly something that we'll take back and talk about.
It's just like those little things that help us as parents feel just a little bit more secure, knowing that the teachers know to lock the doors in one of these drills. It takes that person that, God forbid, would come into a school just a couple of minutes more to try and get through that door. So
obviously that's
a little bit of peace of mind.
Sure. Having said that, and again, I certainly do not want to minimize what happened in Connecticut, but there have been 4 school shootings in the history of schools. 4. And if you think about the number of shootings in Philadelphia on New Year's Day, by and large, across America, certainly in New Jersey, certainly in Camden County, and particularly in Lindenwold, your children are safer in school than they are just about any place else.
Yeah.
And even then, we're powerless.
Right. Like you said, you can't plan for crazy, so.
Now, one of the things I would encourage all the parents to do is to take a look at our website. There are many resources on the website to tell you some ways to talk to your children about being safe, to talk to your children about how to interact with other children and how to follow different rules and how to feel comfortable and who to go to when something happens, and we encourage you to take a look at those resources. There are also resources in all of our guidance offices, and we have guidance counselors in all of our buildings. And if you continue to have concerns, or if you know that your children are having some fears or some concerns, by all means, let us know, let our guidance counselors know, and we will provide you with some resources to help your children feel more comfortable and to help ease some of your fears. That information has come from a national, central source of information, and there are lots of different things that you can do to talk to your children about how to be safe. We have lots of issues related to safety, in addition to the shootings and those kinds of drills that we have. We have parking lot issues, we have people who lose their temper, we have a variety of things. We would encourage you to please, whenever possible, if you follow our school procedures, if you follow the procedures lined out by the police department, and the police department is going to be enforcing all traffic regulations on school property, if you could work with us so that we can provide a better, safer environment for your children and for all of our community members, we would very much appreciate that. Other questions? Sure. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Zenora Lopez. I have a suggestion to the teachers in class. Should have teachers say in every single class. Since the situation happened in Connecticut, I think that every teacher should have a teacher say. That way they could work like a team. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying, and we would love to put more well-trained adults in all of our classrooms. It's certainly something that we can look at, but that's a very, very big investment, and frankly, it's something that the state guidelines don't necessarily allow us to do. But we will certainly take that suggestion. Thank you.
And I have another question. What about the bus drivers? Do the bus drivers should have an aid in the bus, having the kids like more safety, because there's some kids, they get lousy, they get up from the bus, from their seats and everything. Mm-hmm. What would you think? Is it a good idea or not?
Well, to be very honest, on Monday night's board meeting, we are approving 2 of our aides to be on the buses for school number 4 and school number 5. They'll be randomly on the buses. They won't be on the same bus every day, and they won't be on every bus, but we will be doing that to help keep a little bit greater order on the buses. The bus drivers are also trained. They go through training every fall prior to driving our buses. They're not our bus drivers. They work for a private company, a bus company, but they do go through training.
I'm saying it because I used to work in California for teachers assistant in the bus. So every single bus, they had their own teacher's aide. Mm-hmm. For it don't matter how many kids there are in the bus, they need to have at least 2 persons in the bus to control, because sometimes the buses are big and, kids are kind of loud. Mm-hmm. But that was my question.
Certainly, and as I say, we are going to approve some teachers' aides to be on the buses, and that will be on Monday night's board agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Nakia Perry-Goffney. My children both attend School 5, and I know that there, like you said, there's some regulations around the parking lot. I know that my daughter's been there since pre-K. She's in the 4th grade now. It's just chaos to me every morning. I don't take them to school anymore because now they catch the bus. But like some mornings it was just utter chaos, dropping them off and picking them up, with there being one way in. And it got to the point where I would park in the mini mall or whatever you would call it and let them off and either walk them up or let them walk up by themselves. Is there a way to address that? Because in my mind, with all the chaos that's going on in the morning with different parents dropping their children off, and in the afternoon, I can just imagine that being the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. Because there's just one way in and one way out, and there are times when there are cars parked where they're not supposed to be, and you know, sometimes there's officers there, sometimes it's not, and I'm just wondering how that could be better addressed so that, you know, when our children are just being dropped off, not necessarily even being within the school, but on school grounds, how can we implement something that would better protect them during those times?
That's an ongoing issue that we have at school number 5, and it's really not much better at school number 4. We have some plans that have been submitted to the Department of Education to address both parking lot situations. Unfortunately, the Department of Education works very slowly in terms of reviewing plans and releasing funding in order to be able to address that. We have changed the procedure for parking and drop-off at both of the schools. We try very hard to enforce the procedures that we have set up. Not everybody adheres to those procedures, and that's why we're working with the police department and have authorized them to come onto school property and to enforce the parking regulations and any traffic safety that's necessary. We're as concerned about a student walking in front of a car as we are about some violent situation. We're very concerned about the safety. And again, I come back to the parents and ask that if you would just leave a couple of extra seconds and just wait patiently until it's time to pull up and drop off your child according to the procedure that we've set up, that would alleviate the situation a great deal. But we are trying to address it, and it's just going to take a little time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Awney. I have some paperwork I'd like to hand out. I have 3 copies, one for the chief, one for the board, and one for the administration. On here, it's more of a website than what's in the article, and I would really ask that you guys would take a look at this and take it seriously.
Certainly, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Certainly.
I have a comment question.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm echoing. First of all, my comment is I was at the middle school for the winter concert, and I was very impressed with, my son is Alfonso Pena, by the way. He's been in the school district since he was in pre-K. And he comes home every day and tells me all these new things about if there's a stranger in the building, if there's one in the community, if a bomb goes off, so he's been going through all of these drills. But when I was at the winter concert, someone came to the front door of the school, and a student was standing there, and the person knocked on the door, and the student actually said, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to let you in the building." So there you go. I was very impressed. But my question is this. I do agree that school shootings don't happen very often, but obviously as a parent of a 10-year-old, I'm
It only has to happen once.
Right. I'm concerned that, you know, my son would go to school and never come home. But I've been listening to the news and reading articles on Yahoo and all these things, and it seems like the schools where they put the message out to the community that we're not going to take your crap, if you come into our school, you know, you're going to be met by the police, you're going to be met by angry teachers. We've taken these precautions. What are we doing to tell the people in the community? I mean, most of these crimes are committed by people that we see every day, that we work next to, that we live next to, that we live down the street from. And I came here tonight, and the person that I came here with said, we have 2,000 students in this school district, and there are less than 100 people at this thing. So what are we doing? Like, what can I do to make sure that those parents that aren't here, that don't care if their kid comes home, well, maybe they had other obligations, not 100% of them, but what can I do to let them know that the police are going to be in the school and there are safety precautions? And I understand you can't share those with us, My son tells me a lot of it, though, so.
I know your son.
But, like, what can we do to tell these people who live next door to us, who live across the street, that you can't come into our school because we're not going to tolerate it?
Well, I appreciate that comment, and I certainly appreciate your willingness to help us with this. And what I would suggest certainly is tell your friends, tell your neighbors, come to the Home and School Council, come to the building home and school meetings that we have on a monthly basis. Get involved with the schools. We are putting this on Channel 192 to make it available to people who are not able to be here tonight. This will be an ongoing topic for us to be dealing with. This is not a one-time occurrence. This is something that's going to, unfortunately, this has become part of the culture of the school that we need to deal with. And I would just encourage everybody to share with those folks around you, share with the parents in the parking lot, share with all of the room moms, share with your neighbors the fact that we are very concerned. We've put some things into place. We need your help, and let's work together on this.
Can the police put something out that goes in the backpacks of the kids that says, hey, maybe not the details, but this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it? And I mean, I'm here, obviously, with the other 99 people, but I think other people need to know. You know, the kid who got pissed off at somebody, oh, sorry, and, you know, decided to blow everybody away. I mean, metal detectors are great, bulletproof glass is great, but this is the real world, and we're not going to get all those things. They would be wonderful, but we're not going to get them.
Well, you speak to a larger issue, and that's a cultural, social issue.
Right, but
and teaching our children to get along with one another, teaching kids to resolve conflicts in different ways that don't lead to violence, those kinds of things. And those things are things we're doing here in school. We certainly could send something home in backpacks, and that's something that I'll talk with the administrative team about. We can certainly continue to make Global Connect calls on a regular basis, reminding parents of what's going on as to what the police choose to do. We certainly will cooperate with them,
right, but
they're busy folks and they need to see what works for them.
Agreed. I mean, I'm not asking anyone to like pull a diamond out of a piece of coal, but if it's our kids, then, and we're not going to get all those things that is on our wish list, then we need to do other things to make sure that the people out there that have the guns, you know, as much as I hate to admit it, I agree with the police chief that we shouldn't have armed people in our schools. Guns don't belong in our schools, and I'm not an advocate of guns or not guns, but I agree with that. But most of these crimes happen with people who we know, who we sat next to at McDonald's or we saw at the diner, and they're not here. We are. But they need to know what you guys are doing. I think it's great that we know, but they need to know too.
Thank you, and we'll talk about that.
And keep up the good work, Ms. Giddens.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Hi. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have more of a concern I'd like to raise, and before I do that, I'll tell you about an incident that occurred in Lindenwold on September 7th, 2010. A 6-year-old little boy, on first day of school, he was, his teacher was told basically that he is going to go to an after-school program that is actually held within the school. And on that day, you know, it was written on this this form that this kid is not a walker, right? And he is going to go to this after-school program within the school, and you drop your child off and think that you know, that would take place. And in this case, it did not. This little boy, that being my son, he was missing for an hour and 40 minutes. Okay. So just imagine getting a call from my husband saying that he's not here, right? And the school can't find him, okay? Rather than just go through that whole incident, that whole day, it's probably the most horrible day in our lives, right? And by the grace of God, he was just in the playground still waiting to see. So wherever they let the kids out, just still waiting to see why no one had picked him up and why he wasn't in this after-school program. I raised that concern because obviously it would be a concern of any parent, and it was because I'm a parent as well. And a lot of the discussion this evening is about, you know, someone coming into our school. But I think we also need to think about the safety with regard to the let-out process. And opening a door in the schoolyard through a mass of parents and their friends or whomever it might be, and just saying, oh, you see someone that you know? Go ahead, I'll see you tomorrow, and nodding, and they get to kind of walk away. I think that's something that really needs to be looked at as a result. As a parent, you know, we pay a great deal of money to have, you know, the kids in an after-school program where we don't want to, you know, they're able to walk home, right? They can actually do that, and they have a cell phone and a whistle and a key, and you do all those things that you think that, you know, because they're responsible, as responsible as they can be as a child. But I really think we need to look at what the teachers and the administrators are doing when the parent says, and you sign something and you fill out a piece of paper and you say that this is the process for the child, whether it's paid for or not. Okay, this is something that the parent chose to do for the child. This is the process for the child, and not let them out in the yard. And when the police officer, and I'm telling you by God's grace, okay, when the Lindenwold Police Department came to that school and they found my son in the schoolyard by himself, and you know, and this is number 5. One of the administrators said, I don't understand why you're so upset, at least he's still on the school property. So I just wanted to raise that concern to you, because I know I got a letter from someone saying, you know, we'd like to meet you and that sort of thing, and just, you know, extend our apology and all of that. That teacher no longer works for the school, and the principal has changed since then. But I wanted everyone to hear that if you had not heard that incident, that the process of letting the children out and just kind of free to go to someone that you think they know or someone that they recognize is a poor process. So it's something I think we need to tighten.
I certainly appreciate your comments. Arrival and dismissal is a very, it's a very complex issue, because we're dealing with so many children and we have so many doors, particularly at the 2 elementary schools, to send children out. But it is a procedure that we look at on a regular basis, and we'll continue to do so to tighten it up and make sure that does not happen again. Thank you. Any other questions?
My name is Sonia Lopez. I'm going to try my best. I don't speak perfect English. Any way in the future that they're going to put metal detectors in the school?
At this particular time, we don't have those plans, but certainly it's something that I'm sure that the board will be discussing.
Okay. Another thing. I know all the four schools are different, the entrance. I have 2 kids here in Lindenwood High School, a senior and a freshman. And, you know, I came this morning to drop my daughter back for she played basketball. She's now there playing basketball. And I see, you know, a security guy there, so that's good. Just soon you come inside, you see him. So that's good. But in middle school, it's just a suggestion. When the kids are exchanging class, I think it's a good idea to don't let nobody go inside. If somebody's in the door, don't let the people, you know, even if it's buzzing the bell, don't let them go inside, especially in school, middle school, because it's a class just right there when you open the door. So it can get confused if somebody go inside and the children are going to the, I don't know what room is that, it's computer?
It doesn't matter
which,
the library.
Yes, I see a lot of, one time I see a lot of kids going inside and people was coming, you know, from outside. So that's like you expose the children to the strangers. So I think it's a good idea that don't open the door when the kids are going inside of that, especially that classroom. You know, I work in the school too, and it's a private school, and they change a lot of stuff now there too, so I'm part of that. We have to check the door every time to see their lock.
Thank you for sharing that idea. At the high school, we don't allow anyone in during the change of classes for exactly that reason, and that would be appropriate to
middle school
do it at middle school as well. Although many of our middle school children are escorted as a class with their teacher when they change classes, but still it's something for us to definitely look at. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We do that in the school where I work, so that's work.
Thank you.
That's work. I know we have security camera. They have security camera in middle school too?
Yes, we have security cameras in all of our buildings.
I never pay attention. I never been there. Sorry. I just go to the office and that's it.
They are there in all of our buildings.
Okay. Another thing, what happened in Connecticut, yeah, I don't know if I'm wrong. You can correct me. It was somebody they know. So are you taking, what you say? Are you taking care of that part? Like a Lego say, a teacher husband gonna come, and because they know that's the teacher husband, they're like, okay, you can go. Well, so this is something like a, you know, really, because you never know.
We ask everybody to follow the same procedure. In fact, when I come into the building, I go directly to the office of whichever building I'm in so that they know that I'm in the building as well. And I think that they're pretty comfortable that they know who I am, but I still follow the same procedure that we ask everybody to follow when they come into the building. Certainly, whether it's a family member or a parent or a community member, the procedure is the procedure. We ask everybody to sign in, we ask everybody to go to the office, and we take care of it in that way.
When people go inside, school number 4, and I'm not familiar with school number 5. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My kid never been there. But in school number 4, when you go inside, you can, you know, just go straight, because the people that you're supposed to see is behind a door, so it's behind a desk over there. So why that people don't come outside, or can you put a desk there? Like that, you have to go definitely straight to that people and sign, because, you know, if you want to like go straight, somebody can go just right back there. And
this is
good evening. What happens at school 4 is you have to be buzzed in.
Yeah.
So whoever has buzzed you in, because we are all inside of the office, we're waiting to see the person come into the office.
Yes.
If the person doesn't come into the office, and some of you here might have seen any of us do this, we chase you down the hall.
Yes.
We're waiting for you to come in. So we buzz the door, we see you, and if you don't come right into the office, somebody will get up and come out into the main hallway. Yes. And there are occasions when new parents that don't know the procedure, or they don't know which door is the office door, because my door is the second door at school number 4, so sometimes they're knocking on my door and not the main office door. We're looking, so on any given time, somebody jumps up, hey, where are you going? So we do that. And also, to all of the staff members and all of the schools know that if you see somebody strange walking through the building, that you have the right to ask them where they're going, who are they, did you stop by the office, did you get a pass? And you know, in most of the schools, the classrooms are within the first 50 feet, so there's always people around to see you. So that, as somebody said, the student at the middle school knows not to open the door. All the students are trained, especially the little ones too, are trained not to open doors all around the building. They know that. And all the staff members know they have the right to stop any adult they see that they are not familiar with walking through the building.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
Hi, my name is Rich Roach. I just want to testify to that fact because I was invited to go to school for a 4th grader who sent me a letter and asked me to come to her class. And I walked up, I rang the doorbell. As I walked through the door, I was greeted by 3 people who really didn't know who I was. And I hadn't really had the pleasure of meeting the principal yet. I had just become mayor, and I was escorted to the classroom. When I was done, I was escorted from the classroom, and I was very impressed with the amount of security that I had going to and from, and these people really not knowing who I was, but taking my word for it that I was the mayor. They say I could be crazy because I am the mayor of Lindenwold, but these, you know, they take very good care of what they do. I was very impressed. And we all have to sit here and think about this gentleman who was doing what he did. I mean, he had a plan. He had weapons that were not going to be stopped by bulletproof glass. He had bulletproof armor on. He was determined to do what he was going to do. And unfortunately, when that happens, there's very little that a lot of people can do, but hopefully in our town, being the size that we are and the amount of police that we have on at any one given time and the response time we have here, I feel a lot more comfortable sending my son here. And my son went to private school right up until high school this year. And I felt very comfortable with him coming here, and I'm glad he did. So my hat's off to you. You guys do a great job, and thank you for escorting me through the school and, and keeping our kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take this last question, and then we'll wrap up, because I know that the children have to get home to finish their homework and get to bed so that they can be bright-eyed tomorrow morning.
Hi, my name is Angel Gonzalez. I work at schools in Philadelphia, and I see a lot of volunteers. A lot of, not like seniors, but like they're already retired, they're still strong, and they do a lot of safety issues with them over there. Like, they go look the hallways, and they have the front doors. I don't know if that's something possible. You guys can look at the community and see, you know, if there's any seniors that would like to volunteer and be like safety guards at the doors, or maybe just go around the hallways, or even the outside. Some of them can be just, you know, roaming the outside, you know? Because, I mean, that will help, I think, you know? And that way it's not an expense because it's volunteer work.
Okay,
you know?
Thank you very much for that suggestion as well, and we'll look into it. Yes, sir. Sure. See, we can't say no.
I just have one question. With the buzzer system, is there also an intercom where they can talk?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a camera and an intercom.
Yes. The reason why I was just wondering was I've been there, well, my son, he goes to school number 4. I mean, I've been there multiple times to drop off supplies and that kind of stuff. Most of the time I come unannounced, and I've never been asked at any time. I just get buzzed in. So I was just curious. I guess where I was wondering, like, I know you probably can't explain it, but what is the criteria for determining, you know, he's okay to buzz in if they don't even know who I am?
Most of our staff know who our families are, and so they do just buzz them in. If there's a question, though, if they don't know who you are or they don't feel comfortable, they will ask you for ID, they'll ask you who you are and where you're planning to go. Okay. So there is a definite procedure that we follow. Thank you.
And for the chief, thank you for not arming the schools.
Thank you. At this time, once again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming and for caring about our children and sharing with us your wonderful children. I'd like to thank the administrators and the board members who came out tonight, and the borough officials and the police officers, the chief of police and the lieutenant, for coming to share in this conversation. It is a conversation that is ongoing. It's something we will talk about. If you are driving home and you think of the one thing that you wish you would have said, I'll be in my office tomorrow. By all means, give me a call, and we can talk it over and see if we can make this a better place. Thank you very much. And one last thing, I'd like to thank the students and our teachers who are in the back videotaping and helping us put this program on Channel 192 so that we can reach out to the community. If you know of anyone who wasn't able to be here tonight but would have liked to, by all means let them know to watch Channel 192, and they'll be able to listen to the conversation that we had. Thank you very much. Hug your kids tonight. Thank you.